The 7th December 2022, Bolanle Raheem is the name of the news this morning, the latest victim of police brutality in Lagos, Nigeria. 44-year-old property lawyer. We are told that she was pregnant as at the time that she got shot in her car with her husband, and the lady you're seeing on the screen is a younger sister who witnessed that particular unfortunate incident on Sunday, Christmas Day. So we had an exclusive with our younger sister, and it's perhaps a good place to start to help us understand precisely what happened.
I was inside the vehicle yesterday from church. The Redeem was doing program yesterday, lead fishing. So my sister now said that we should not go to Surulere. We should just go nearby church. That's our former church, World Assembly, near Lagos Business School. So immediately we finished. Her daughter now said that that's her daughter, Shemilore. She said, Daddy, let's go out. She said, you're going to take us out today. Immediately the daddy said, and when do I tell you you're going out? So the daddy drive and just take us to Brahmadesanya roundabout to get some things for them. He got yogurt and bottled water. From there we now went to Dominion Pizza, very close to roundabout of Aja. So after spending 1 hour there, my sister said, let's go home. So immediately inside the car, she was even telling me, talking to the husband, he said, this new vehicle that you just have is not like Lexus. So you have to be very careful. Benga, by the time you eat any other car, you will pay for it. And as we were smiling and laughing, the guy just said, stop. There's a car coming. You said, stop. Immediately we just stop. We just hear gunshot. I don't know how. Where? The guy was not in our front at all. The guy was not in our front. My sister was sitting and the husband was driving. I was sitting at the back of my elder sister, Barrister Bolanle, and my children, 4 children were there, and with our own daughter. So immediately she just said, Benga, the gun have entered my chest. Benga, the gun have entered my chest. Immediately she just dropped.
Well, another day you watch the news and it turns your belly. We're going to be speaking with Muyiwa Adejobi, right? Who's the police PPRO in the course of this conversation. So she was pregnant, reportedly killed in the presence of her husband, her sister, and her children. Just imagine the trauma for those children who witnessed that very sad incident. Now, perhaps the most important news or a point to note is the fact that just less than 20 days ago, in that same axis, 31-year-old Gafaru Buraimo on the 6th of December was shot, allegedly shot by a police officer of the Divisional Police in Lagos State Command. It was learned that the shooting incident that led to Buraimo's death happened when police officers attached to the same Ajiwe Divisional Police in Aja were raiding people selling black market fuel at the Ajiwe filling station. I'm joined this morning by some 2 gentlemen who will help us understand what's happening. Jide Ologun is a lawyer and public affairs analyst. Dr. Tony Ofoyeton is a lawyer and security expert. Good morning, gentlemen. What a way to welcome you to the show.
Good morning.
How are you today? So how did you feel when you heard that news?
The truth is that I lost appetite. The excitement of the euphoria of the season disappeared. In short, I was with my wife when the news broke, and everything about that excitement just disappeared. I was crying. I was crying. One, because of the loss. Secondly, because of the bitterness, the sorrow introduced into a family suddenly in the height of excitement. And it's just one of too many incidents from the same police force. You know, we've had this type of incidents severally. The painful thing is not just that she's a lawyer, no, but that one, it was uncalled for, extremely uncalled for, and the season, the timing, was such that there's never a time that is good enough to murder anybody. But when you are talking of in the middle of festivity, I don't see any reason, if you ask me, why some of these police officers should actually be bearing arms in some places. We know the rules of engagement, for goodness sake. The rules of engagement is conspicuously obvious. You are bearing arms. At what point in time will you pull the trigger? Is your life in danger?
We'll talk about that shortly. Let me just get Barrister's point of view. So the IGP has called for a speedy investigation. The Lagos State Governor is also very invested and has asked that justice will prevail on this matter. But how do you react to this latest incident?
You know, it's really, really very sad, particularly at a season of rejoicing like this. And you can imagine if you are a married man and you love your wife, being in this template. So I must extend my condolence to that family. And like he said, the children, we have to be really orientated to really come out of this trauma. And again, at the macro level, it shows that we still have so much to do in reforming the police system in the country. And by now, we should have been so far ahead, because if you trace the history of the police, you trace it to 1820. And between now and then, we should have gone beyond where we are. And with what I know about policing, when you talk about arm, you bear arm as an extension of delivering on your mandate of protecting the people and also protecting yourself. And of course, when we begin to read about trigger-happy cops, I think it's really a cause for concern. And as mentioned, the IGP, the Commissioner of Police in Lagos, the government is involved in this. And we hope it won't be one of the cases that stop at the point of investigation and nothing serious is done about it. And I believe that in the course of this engagement, we talk about the HR implications, the PR implications, and of course the legal implications.
2 people allegedly killed within 1 month by the same policeman in that division. Some would say perhaps because he's a property lawyer and then the MBA was involved. That's why this gained so much prominence, particularly on social media. But you were talking about the rule of engagement earlier. We spoke with Benjamin Hundeyin, who is the Lagos police PRO yesterday. What is that rule of engagement? At what point do you engage your gun? And for what reason should that be done?
Well, in terms of rule of engagement, one of the first things that we must understand is that, force must always be commensurate. If you have a criminal that is escaping, for example, and there's the necessity to apprehend the criminal, the major thing is apprehension and not shooting to kill. So that means that the best you can do is to look for any part of the body that would ensure that the criminal does not escape. In other words, killing is not one of such. When you also talk about engaging the trigger, when your life is conspicuously, unarguably in danger. In other words, maybe the other person is also bearing arm. Now, if the person is bearing a club and you have a gun, it is not an excuse that is coming with a club. Therefore, you shoot the person to kill. You understand? Commensurateness is one major thing in terms of rules of engagement. And another thing you are talking of is civilian population. It's not a criminal thing. Let us even assume, without conceding, that the vehicle was asked to stop and did not stop at that point in time. Would it be established that what you have done is commensurate? Pulling the trigger, knowing full well that the trigger has just one purpose at the end of the day, to cause injury or death. And that injury can be so devastating, can even lead to death at the end of the day. So when you are talking about rule of engagement, as far as we are concerned, is to the extent that whenever you want to use it's the last option, the very last option, except your life is, or maybe at times you want to use it to protect even the criminal himself. So you want to make sure that it doesn't escape for even the safety of that criminal himself. Yes, but not to shoot, to kill. And that is just the one thing that is out of it at every point in time. Unfortunately, because of the high level of impunity. Now you spoke about the young man that was killed before the council. I agree with you 100% that it is because she is a council and NDA came on board. And I can tell you, because when the PPR was, I listened and they asked, what is the name of the police officer? He said that I can't tell you now until we are still investigating. But the name is already on social media and everywhere. Now you see, these police, they have this culture of, concealment, except the social media pull it out, push it out. You see that the first thing they want to do is protect our own. Even if they are going to discipline that one, maybe the provost also may discipline that person, but you want to conceal it, from the public.
Talking about,
to me, it's not good enough.
Talking about the police, Dr. Foyito, we have the force public relations officer, Muyiwa Adejobi, joining us via phone. Good morning. Help us understand what the update is. We heard that the IGP has ordered speedy investigation into this matter. What's the update as at this morning?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning to all Nigerians. Let me start by giving out the message of the Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Akari Baba, on this incident. The IGP commiserated with the family of the deceased, the NBA in general, friends and other colleagues of the deceased. It's quite unfortunate that we are recalling this incident at this time of the year. And with the statement we issued from the fourth quarter yesterday, you can see clearly that the IGP has condemned that act. This is not time to be pointing any accusing finger that somebody was right or wrong, because the soul, the life of an average Nigerian is so important to us, and we value everybody's life. So we are not pointing any accusing finger here, whether the driver was wrong or somebody was wrong. The fact is, a life is lost, and we cannot bring that life back. That is the major thing. I know the Commissioner of Police in Lagos State, CP Abiodun Alabi, has done the needful. The men on duty there have been arrested, and I was even told that it's an ASP that pulled the trigger. That's another unfortunate thing. If it had been a rack and file, it's going to be another thing entirely. But whatever it is, whenever you want to use your hands, there are laws.
Can you say that again? I'm not sure I heard what you said about who pulled the trigger.
Sorry?
I didn't get what you said about who pulled the trigger.
I said I was told, and I've been told, that it's even an ASP, Assistant Superintendent of Police in charge of that team, that pulled the trigger. I wouldn't know, but I have told the PRO Lagos to issue a statement today to mention the name and possibly roll out the picture of the man who pulled the trigger. I heard what my brother in the studio is saying, that they want to conceal. Nobody is going to conceal. There's no need for us to say we want to conceal anybody's name. If you do something wrong, carry your cross. The IGP has not sent him to go on fire. The CP has not sent him to go on fire. Neither the DPO or the area commander has sent him to go on fire. Nobody will ask a policeman to go to the street and be killing. It's not proper. There are laws to use your gun. First Order 237 is clear. And the United Nations Treaty of BPUFF, Basic Principle for Use of Force and Firearms. It is clear for you to use your arms on anybody, there are conditions to follow. And at that point in time, I don't think his life was in danger or somebody's life was in danger. Perhaps they wanted to stop the man, didn't stop on time. They could have allowed the man to go and, of course, see how they want to get the vehicle if they suspect the vehicle in any way. That is the normal thing. So the issue of whether the police want to conceal, they will not arise this time around. The CP has intervened at his level, and even the force headquarters has intervened.
Well, gladly you have said that there is not going to be the issue of concealment in this case. But CSP Adejobi, are you aware that a similar incident had happened earlier this month with the same police station in Aja? concerning 131-year-old Gafaru Buraimo. But what more do you know about that incident on the 6th of December?
I am sure you know again that the Lagos State Police Command made a statement on that. That the policemen who perpetrated that act, they have been arrested and they are in Panti, this state CID in Panti. And the DPO in charge of that division then, the Ajiwe police station in Nigeria, was immediately removed when that incident happened. When we were arguing on Twitter yesterday, people were like, they didn't do anything. And I said, no. The DPO there then had been removed. This is a new DPO who reported just barely a week ago. So it is not an issue of the leadership on ground there, but I think the men who are actually doing this should be properly assessed to know what is wrong somewhere and what is the problem. If an incident, killing, we are not even talking of shooting incident alone. Killing of Nigerians could be recorded like 2 times within 2 weeks. Something is wrong, and the CP is working on that. I had a phone conversation with the Commissioner of Police in Lagos yesterday. Necessary administrative and internal sanitization will be done in that regard.
Indeed. So we are talking about
on that.
2 killings within a month within the same division. And we're also hearing that the ASP you mentioned has spent 33 years in service. So the concerns of Nigerians is that this is not an exception. You just mentioned that it's also happening under a new leadership. Are you concerned that perhaps we still have a system within the police that accommodates in discipline and corrupt officers, and this might be an issue of structure and not an exception?
Like in an argument yesterday with some lawyers when we were discussing on a group chat, I told them it is not a systemic thing. If somebody is smoking Igbo, or you are drunk, or you want to be trigger happy, it is not that the police is the one telling you to be trigger happy. I've just told you now the laws. You have to consider the conditions within which you can pull your trigger or use your firearms in any way. That is what the police will teach you. If you want to be a deviant on your own as an individual in the system, if you are being a deviant, we'll treat you as a deviant. And that is why in the police, and I stand to be corrected or put anywhere, police remains the only lead agency that will always fish out its erring officers and punish them. So police will not in any way condone any indiscipline. No. We have fished out these men. They are in detention now. You can go, whoever wants to go and see them in detention can go to Panti. They are in detention. The ASP involved is going to slow down our process a bit. And that's what I told Nigerians yesterday. Because of an ASP, the CP in the command or AIG Zone 2 cannot dismiss an ASP. It's a process that they will need to write a report to the AIG, which of course I think the report will be ready today. So that I can forward report to Service Commission. Police Service Commission is the one that has the right to suspend this man before he can carry on with any legal procedure on the matter. It is because of the status of an ASP in the police. That is the procedure. But whatever it is, we are going to be fast, and that is the instruction of the IGP yesterday, that there must be speedy investigation and possible prosecution of whoever that must have done this. And that is clear in the statement of the IGP.
I hear you.
Today, I'm sure the CP is getting the report of that incident on the killing of Bolanle Raheem, and that will be forwarded to Service Commission so that this ASP can be suspended. If it is not suspended, they cannot prosecute.
All right.
Let us get it right.
So
it's a legal matter.
You are saying that
our actions so that necessary things will be done on time.
You mentioned earlier that the identity of this particular policeman will be revealed, and you are also saying that investigation is ongoing. Just before we let you go, is this investigation timed? Because some 21 days ago, a 31-year-old man was killed in the same axis. And what you have told us is that investigation is on. How long will this investigation take?
When we say investigation, it does not really mean that we want to go and be looking for one thing, looking for the other. It's not a normal statement when we speak. You can't have investigation, you cannot have prosecution without investigation. One thing must come. Even if you have a prima facie case, which means a decided case, in a clear case like this case, we still need to say that investigation and report. You can't have a prosecution without a report. Even if there's going to be an interim report. It's part of what we mean by investigation. It's not that we are still going to wait years, months, and be looking for what is not missing. No. It's just a normal statement we use when we are discussing issues of this nature. It's a murder case. Whatever you want to do, we must perfect our procedure so that a lawyer, don't forget, this man, even if he charges him to court, is entitled to a lawyer. A lawyer will stand for him, whatever it is. If a man kills more than 200 people now, a genocide case, a lawyer or team of lawyers will still come up and defend him. That's what the law says. So don't let us give any loophole for anybody must have done this to escape justice.
All right.
So let there be due process, and we are mindful of the time. So we are trying to speed up whatever we want to do to make sure justice is done. The NBA has been started. The city had a meeting with them yesterday, and we are on the same page.
So there's no specific time frame. That's what you're saying. One thing is certain, CSP Adejobi, the fact that Nigerians are concerned, this is going to impact, this is not good for the image of the police. It's going to impact on the relationship between police and the civil populace. And all eyes will be on the police at this time to see how speedily justice will be served. I'm going to ask you to please keep watching the program, and perhaps we might reach you later on before we go for your reaction to some of the issues that will come up. Muyiwa Adejobi is the first public relations officer. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning. Do you agree with him that this is not systemic?
Thank you.
You know, to a large extent, and one thing I'm happy about is that he has sincerely educated the citizens that there are procedures. And that may be one of the reasons why state policing advocacy is relevant here. Because this matter, because of the rank of the officer involved, will be escalated to the federal before you take some action, so that you don't take actions that will be thrown out at the judiciary point, so that everything is properly done. But talking about systemic impact here, I think I started by telling us the history of police dates back to 1820. And in 1930, all the regions were merged to have a national police. And by now, we should have gone beyond this. And it's a good thing.
Should have moved from a colonial instrument used to oppress the people.
That's a perception. We should have gone beyond that, really. And that is why I mentioned the public relations angle. As far as the citizens are concerned, if you look at the policing team, it says to protect with courage, serve with compassion. So as far as the claim that police is your friend is concerned, that is not embraced on the other side of that relationship. And that brings us to the HR aspect. What crop of officers come into that system? And what level of trainings and retrainings are carried out to ensure that they are in tune with the vision and the mission of the policing system? And having said that now, it is crucial at this point to also look at their welfare. You know, because when we claim that, you know, a serving officer should be someone's friend, a lot of things are involved. We cannot deny the fact we encounter frequently when relating with some of the officers, which is pecuniary in nature. If, for instance, the welfare is robust, they may be able to focus directly on professionalism. Because like he mentioned, and the PPRO mentioned, your first
I thought that was reviewed upwards after the NSAS protest.
It's deep. So, we know. You know what? You don't shoot to kill, primarily. You shoot to maim. All right? But when we come to the point where the aggression is so enormous, I mean, something must be done about it. And don't forget that we had the NSAS protest across the nation, which is an advocacy that is ongoing. So for us to migrate to the main purpose of policing, which is even prevention of crime. So police officers should not be seen for committing crime. And that is why the burden is heavy now for the police to ensure that at least, even if this case is isolated, to run through the ecosystem of criminal justice, why not? To ensure that the investigations are done, the proper prosecution is done, and of course you have, and when you land at that point, you are now telling other erring officers who may be trigger happy that you need to change your mindset, or you exit the system. And I can let you know It's not easy to just exit officers from the system if you look at the bureaucracy. So these are the issues we are battling with now. But there is a crucial need for reform. Going back to the essence of even having the police system in our society, citizens should be happy seeing police officers. They should feel secured encountering police officers like we have in some climes in the world. And the fine officers who are in the system should also rise up to the occasion that the image, the good image required to function effectively is retained.
So we just heard from CSP Adejobi that the man in question is an ASP, Assistant Superintendent of Police. We'll talk about that and the fact that he spent some 33 years within the police force and how important all of these are to the workings of the Nigeria police. Lawyer and security expert, and also Gideon Logan, lawyer, public affairs analyst. Well, I'm a guest on the show this morning. Very sad tale we're telling yet again. But some 2 years ago, we had the NSAS protest. And then the SARS, as we're told, has been disbanded. Apart from protest and civil disobedience, what way forward? How do you think the issue within the Nigeria police force can be resolved?
I think the Nigerian police force need to be sincere with itself and stop this public pretense. There's high level of incapacities in the police. Now, I'll give you an example. One of the major endemic problems in the Nigerian police force is what you call stray bullets, unguarded shooting. But the question is, what is the cause? Apart from the issue of impunity, let's leave impunity, because impunity may be such that to the public we are not aware. But inside they have their own provost marshal, they have their own disciplinary measure. Definitely, even if they cover you in public, you can't get away with it. You will definitely be dealt with. Now, but the police as a whole formation, how many shooting range do they have? Do they have any? I'm talking of standard shooting range. I'm not talking of taking people to the forest to go and be shooting. Nigerian police force as we speak today, do they have standard shooting range where you have to train and retrain and train and retrain? Because when you talk about the trigger, handling the gun is a combination of not just the skill, it's a combination of your emotional balance, your intellectual balance. Everything about you as a person must balance. Because you know that you have the life of human being in your hand. When the gun is in your hand, there's this aura of power, though negative, that is in you. To what extent has the police been sincerely able to train its officer before you give them the gun? Many of them will tell you, I will shoot you and nothing will happen. And it has happened severally. Many have gone with it. Forget about whether you dismiss them, you redeploy them and the like. People have died.
Let me hold you for a minute. Emmanuel has called in from Otukpo in Benue State. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Uncle Nifemi. Good morning.
I've become an uncle.
You are worthy to wear Uncle Yori's cap. Greetings to your guests. This topic is so sad, but we still thank God it's a regular occurrence in our country. That's where we find ourselves. The woman in question is a lawyer, and the police. These people come from almost the same constituency. They are supposed to be the keepers of the law. But look at what has happened. But it will not be fine to say that the king's goat has eaten the king's yam. But there is wahala here. And we're waiting to see how they will go about it. See, I don't know. I think it's our legal system that is problematic. And by this killing, I will miss Ganifa and ESAN very seriously, because he will be very mad with this kind of case. But what are they trying to investigate? This man has killed this woman in the full glare of the whole world. The husband was a witness, the sister was a witness, with all the children in the car. So what are they investigating? It is this impunity that is giving the policemen the courage to do what they are doing. And let me tell you, until we change our style and we begin to deal with them as we ought to deal with them, nothing will change. Very soon they go to court and they begin to speak English. But she has cut an innocent woman down. May God help us in Nigeria. God bless the country. Good
Thank
morning.
you so much for your contribution. So, the longer it takes for the police to reveal the identity of this individual, the more room it gives people to fill in the gap. So we have a situation where, of course, we now know that he is an assistant superintendent of police. Some are saying he spent 33 years in office. Others are saying the police was drunk as at the time of that shooting. But help us understand, briefly, what this says about the police force. If you have an ASP, because he wasn't even the one who stopped the car from the account of the deceased younger sister. He wasn't the one who stopped the car. I mean, the shooting came in from elsewhere while they were trying to maneuver that spot.
From previous reports that I read, I think this particular suspect had been involved in extortion and harassing motorists.
This particular suspect.
Within that axis, that report is online. So one would have expected that you don't take such reports lightly. You follow up, profile this person psychologically, which is one of the prompted engagements during the NSAS protest. That, okay, we are not just saying stop extrajudicial killings and extortions and these anomalies. We are also saying let's improve the welfare of the police. Because what will make you go out there and the first thing you want to do is intimidate people with your authority. So if the force had risen to the occasion to invite this particular officer, sit the officer down, if you are tired of the system, find your way out, for the sake of the image of the police and for preventing others. There is what we call reinforcement theory in industrial psychology. What you allow can only, grow in stature. So if we have been preventing, because let's face the reality, when the story of Abiakari came out, it was like a joke. But the police discovered there was a need to deal with this. And that case had been isolated. And I'm sure that many of his colleagues who probably would have been aiding drug deals.
I'm thinking they are
exactly
untouchable.
And what this also puts on the table today is that we should not delay these processes. Like it's been revealed now, the suspect is known, and maybe his accomplices, then the investigation is short. We have what we call prima facie evidence.
That's right.
So if a report has to go to the Inspector General of Police, you can do that by IT device. There shouldn't be any. In fact, his office is so big that you can fly someone to Abuja to submit that report. There is a need to regain public confidence as a supportive factor. Because when you talk about the police is to ensure public safety and order. The police is to, uphold the laws of the land. The police is to prevent, deter and investigate illegal activities, not to be involved in illegal activities. And of course, if you have erring officers, we may argue that in all the sectors you try to profile, you may find those who are erring. Then you prevent them from becoming catalysts for others. For example, now, we also read about a soldier who was smuggling ammunition to terrorists. You see, so if you find them like that, nip it at the bud. Don't let it fester. Don't let others have the impression, like the reports we have heard, I will kill you and nothing will happen. No, you are not armed to kill. You are armed to protect the citizens and protect yourself.
Reverend Dominic has called in from Alimosho. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, Femi. Good morning to your guests.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
I hear you.
Please, I don't know whether the PRO is still listening. I want to ask him a question. Who policed the police? Femi, if you listen to me now, I live in Alimosho here. There's a particular bus stop here called a Gondo. Every day, when I pass that road, I shook my head. Femi, I can carry 10 human heads with gun and cocaine and pass that road. Do you know the reason I should pass? I'm not driving a flashy, saloon car. I drive a Jeep, and I'm 80, I'm over 50. When they look at my face as elderly and I can defend myself, they pass you no matter how. But when they see these young boys, maybe with a flashy car, 2025, they will stop this. It's a show of shame every day. You will see them fighting with these boys, searching their purse, searching their phone. You will see these boys fighting a police officer who's supposed to be respected because of their character. Every day, if PRO is listening to me now, let me just send a message now. It's happening now. Who police the police? Even the way police the nation is insecurity. You can pass them as long as you are matured, like my friends there. But if you are young, you won't pass them whether you commit offense or not. The question is this: who police the police, so that we can have an example of security? I sympathize with this family. Since yesterday I had this news, I'm sad. Please tell me, could some of you go to the cell and call this man and say what happened? What makes you to kill a woman and shoot a gun on the car with a woman, 2 women and children? What happened? So we can actually understand the cycle of this man. What prompted you? Were they like some of us? Were they calling God? What should make a police shoot women, children, and a man on a Christmas day? Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Dominic. And you can feel the pain from his contribution. So there's a lot happening here, and there's a lot on my mind as well. You know, I shared with you the fact that there's the risk of generalizing that every policeman is wrong.
No.
And I don't think that is absolutely correct. But we have also had experience. You know, I usually would tell my wife that, say, anytime they stop you, just lift your hands up. Whatever they want. Because it is because of issues like this. You stay and fight for your right and insist on what is right. I mean, the person who has been shot is gone. So the question, for instance, is when you meet certain police officers who stop you and actively begging for money. And I'm not saying all policemen do that, but I have experienced such policemen.
We have
stop you and say, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have your papers. Just give me money. Is it a function of poor remuneration, like he said earlier? Because, crying out loud, I'm a journalist, and I don't think there's any journalist that is being paid, as it were, in this part of the world. But it doesn't mean that there are still a few journalists who will still do their job without looking for bribes and things like that.
Let me start by saying that it is not the police that taught the policeman on the road how to beg. I think there's a vulnerability that they are exploiting. The vulnerability of the average or many motorists not ready to do the right thing and always in a haste. So that becomes an opening for the corrupt police officer to exploit. Now, unfortunately, they also extend it to everybody with this presumption that an average motorist is definitely, flouting one law or the other. And it has now become an incurable habit in those that have developed it. Now, I'll tell you something. Senior police officers don't do it. If you have problem with the police, go to the senior police officer. You will see different policing entirely. But the rank and file, a police officer have accosted me, greeted me, and said, "Pastor, how are you?" I said, "I'm not a pastor." He
But
said,
wait, ASP is
talking,
not a senior police officer.
It is.
Yeah,
You heard.
Now, let me tell you.
You heard the CSP say it was an ASP that shot the woman.
When he said, "Pastor," I said, "I'm not a." I said, "Are you not the pastor staying in that house?" He was pointing at the house different from. I said, "I'm not." But what I perceived, God just told me, "Oh boy, calm down. Whosoever you are, just calm down." And truly, God helped me that day. He had a gun. He was oozing with the thickest odor of alcohol you can ever imagine. But do you know the funniest thing? After the whole thing, he said, "I'm talking to you and you are eating." I was chewing at the egg in the car when I was going on. He said, "I'm talking to you and you are eating." I said, "Sorry, sir." I said, "The garden egg was already in my mouth before." He said, "You are eating again." I said, "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know what to do. I can't spill it out." And God helped me. I moved out of that day. But do you know one thing? 2 days later, I met him at Force Headquarters. I said, "Do you know me?" He said, "No, sir." I was coming from a senior officer's office. I said, "Do you know me?" He said, "No, sir." I said, "Did you work in this place and this place 2 days ago?" He said, "Yes, sir." "On this road?" He said, "Yes, sir." "And you did not know me?" He said, "No, sir. I don't think I have ever." "I'm sorry, sir." Now, it took me as one of the very senior police officers and the like, because I was at a Concealment house, you know, and I accosted him. But you know the message there? Truly, he cannot recognize me again. So that means whatever had happened on that day would have just been sacrificed for nothing, because he was under the thick influence of alcohol. So at times, when you have interaction with them, just allow wisdom rather than your legal right to prevail.
Samuel has called in from Benin. Samuel, are you still there?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Samuel. I'm calling from Benin. There's something I would like to contribute.
Please go ahead.
Yes, some years ago, I had a privilege of working with some of my police counterparts. Then I was serving in the army, and I observed that some of them had their AK-47 with the safety of the AK-47 open. And for us in the army, that was not allowed. You know, your safety, the AK-47 safety, or even whatever rifle you are carrying, the safety must not be open until you are ready to fire. So I talked to my counterpart about his safety, thinking it was a mistake. He told me, no, that is how they carry their rifle. And over time, while I had the privilege of working with so many mobile police officers, I realized they always had the safety catch of their AK-47 open. So meaning that even by mistake, you can fire somebody. If the safety of your AK-47 is locked and your hand is on the trigger, it will not fire. But once that safety is open, it will fire, whether you intend to shoot or not. If that rifle has been cocked and the safety is open, your hand on the trigger, it will fire. Now, if you cock and the safety is not open, you will not be able to fire, whether your hand is on the trigger or not. So I don't know. Every time you hear accidental discharge, you hear this. And I feel that whatever, if it is part of their training at the Goza or whatever, that they have to have their safety open for quick response, I don't think that will make them have any quick response. Because these same police officers go for United Nations operations, they come with award. They don't fire anybody there. They follow the rules there. You come here and you say it is how you operate here. You can just do your own independent research, maybe at the bank or anywhere. You will see that the safety of their AK-47 is open. So for us in the army, it is not allowed. You can even go to the guard room as a soldier if an officer finds that the safety of your AK-47 is open. Why these accidents are happening? Can we just have a look at this angle too? That the weapon handling of the police should be reviewed. It is not enough whenever something happens, we come to the studio and talk about it. Lives have been lost. They should review their weapon handling. I think that nothing justifies a policeman on duty where there is no armed robbery, there is nothing happening, you are on normal routine patrol, your safety catch is open. And then when you fire somebody, we start talking stories. Before you to open it, you must have made up your mind you are going to shoot. But to open your the safety of your AK-47 in the morning, from morning to evening, nobody is calling you for an emergency and you have the safety catch of your AK-47 open and you say it's your own rule as in the police. This is what my counterparts told me then. And since that time till now, even in Benin where I am, I see police officers carrying AK-47.
Thank you, Samuel, for that contribution. Very incisive. Yeah. And he's talking about weapon handling. But are you familiar with what the standard practice is?
You know, he has mentioned it and we have said it. The essence of carrying ammunition is defined. And here comes the ethical aspect and professionalism. And the officers who are entrusted with ammunition should be profiled to have the emotional intelligence to handle the ammunition. So it's part of the training that I mentioned the other time. And this is not just a one-off training. You consistently engage them, even right from the time they are picking that ammunition from the armory. And there should be accountability for it. And when any officer errs, then let there be discipline. Let it be known to others. And this issue of drunkenness and drug abuse and things like that, you also need to carry out that profiling. And you can monitor them. Because at the end of the day, what has happened now has rubbed on the image of the Nigerian police, even though not all officers are erring officers. Indeed. And it's part of the assignment of the structure of the police. If you read the vision statement, the mission statement, you know, the core values of the police, I mean, it gives you a picture of a citizen friendly police and effective police. And we must see this being implemented. So what we learn from situations like this is to see how we can improve the quality, because the standard has been set in place by the United Nations. There's a global standard. Even the national policy has a standard. But it's the quality now meeting up with these standards.
We're wrapping up now. Let's talk about the implication of this on the police-civilian relationship. How many Nigerians still see the police as protectors of the citizen? And how can that be, fixed? Because if you do not trust the police, how does the police even do this? I mean, how do you do your job well if there's no trust?
Well, the only Nigerians, to the best of my knowledge, that see the police as protectors of themselves are the politicians. The average Nigerian does not see the police as protector of citizens. Rather, they see them as adversary many a times. They only go to them when they think that they don't have any other choice other than to go to them, or that they are legally compelled to go to them. I'm sure you have heard of several stories of people quarreling and they prefer to go to Amotekun, go to Vigilante instead of going to the police and all those stuff like that. That means that the police should look inward and begin to, for me, until you make a scapegoat of your own, and then you do it sincerely in such a manner that people are not saying that you are truly sincere about it. It will be difficult because it has taken some decades. You are talking of something that started in 1820, reformed in 1930. And today we are still more or less like the oppressive culture of the police till today. Until that culture is demystified, we'll still keep having the same impression about the police. So if there must be a demystification, it means that the police must be.
A lot of work has to be done.
Yes, a lot of work has to be done, and it can't be suddenly, but it can be gradually
That's
done
our time.
and be achieved.
We have to go now. But in this particular case, what do you consider to be justice?
Justice is to bring this officer after the suspension for prosecution and let justice have its way. But the biggest justice really is to become preventive and proactive so that we don't have extrajudicial killings rampant in our country, because whether we like it or not, we need the police system to have an organized society. So what we just need to do is to ensure that we keep refining the process so that we have an effective result from that sector of our national life. And on that note, we extend our voices to the Inspector General of Police to ensure that justice is really done. And I know the judiciary will be waiting, because the ecosystem of justice, criminal justice, is thorough investigation, diligent prosecution, and a committed judiciary.
Indeed. Gideon Logun, lawyer, public affairs analyst, thank you for joining us today. Tony Ofoyeto, lawyer, security expert. It's good to have you on the program. Well, that's our time.
Nigeria.
I'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Do have a gunshot-free day.
I like that.